Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East West Show. Jack Chow on the East West Show with ICT TV. With me today is my good friend, Mr. Ken Hemming, a political commentator, a Republican, a wonderful human being with a beautiful set of mind. A philosopher, I call him all the time. And by the way, he is a good writer. Speaking of being a good writer, a friend of mine visited my house, and it so happened your book was on my desk.
Beautiful.
They saw it. We started talking about you.
Good.
All good words, okay?
Good.
Take it easy. All
good or bad's fine with me.
All good words. We never said a bad word about you. All right,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome to the show, my dear friend.
My favorite place to be on planet Earth right now.
To start the show with the big news, but the bad news. And anyway, if you look at different ways, it's a celebration of a beautiful life.
Yes.
Right? Former President 41, George H.W. Bush, had passed away. Right now, as we speak, the ceremony is being held at the National Cathedral Church of D.C.
Yes.
Right. And please, my dear friend, join me. Will you please?
Absolutely.
In a little moment of silence. Thank you. A great man like himself, of course, he led an excellent life. Right?
Long life.
Yeah. I've been here long enough to know his whole presidency. And I can testify those great things that he was doing during his presidency, even though 4 years.
Yes, sir.
Right. And his son, George W. Bush, is right now, this very moment, giving a eulogy to his father. I believe he deserves the best words on earth.
Very good words.
Right, so how much do you know about our former president, George H.W. Bush?
I know a lot about him. Okay, I know a lot about him. I've studied him, and of course, these last few days since he passed away, his life has been sort of relived in the news areas. Here's a guy that when he was a teenager, he had a staph infection that almost killed him, okay? But he survived that. I've had one where I had...
What infection?
A staph infection. I've had one with an injury where I had 6 antibiotics for 18 months a day. So they could take you away from planet Earth. But then at 18, when maybe I was learning to brush my teeth still, and get potty trained, he, on his 18th birthday, joined the Navy to become a pilot.
And he was there for 4 years.
Well,
right?
He was there approximately, and he had 58 combat missions, and he was shot down by the Japanese, and he popped up in the water. His crewmates were all perished when the plane went down. He was able to jump out of the cockpit, and then he floated for 4 hours on a raft, those portable rafts you've got.
What an experience.
And then, believe it or not, an American submarine came up and saved him. And I've read Ichijima, the book about it, where the Japanese are up on there and they see this submarine come up and rescue this guy, and they go, why would America risk an entire submarine for just one person? Now that tells you how comfortable the Japanese were with dying for the emperor, and that you're not worth saving that way. Anyway, President Bush always wondered, why me? Why was I allowed to continue to live? And he really thought it made him very humble. His 3 mates on the plane were dead. And he was a servant then to try to repay God, who he believed in planet Earth, through service throughout his life.
I really adore people who had done service put a service to this great country.
At 18.
Right. At age 18.
Yeah.
Oh, for in his case,
Yeah.
at age 18.
Yeah.
Remember last time when we were eulogizing John McCain.
Yes.
Right. We mentioned the fact that he was captured in Vietnam
Yes.
for that many years.
Shot down, captured.
Shot down, captured, and he was tortured. Right?
Was not treated well.
Yeah, with his comrades.
Right.
Right. And he even refused to come back for the
Yes.
special treatment, right?
Because his dad was an admiral. He
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
come back sooner.
He states that he made a statement. I will go when all my comrades
Right.
will go home.
And
right?
that was
Something
very,
like that.
very, very beautiful.
Those are very heroic, right? So I would say at the age of 18, when somebody started a life like that, though, that's a foundation. That
It was.
establishes the foundation of the man's quality.
Exactly, for the
Right.
rest of his life. Right.
Dude, I take
I
him
believe
as
that.
I take him as a very humble president.
I think he was very humble throughout his life. See, he came from a lot of money. His dad was a senator, okay? Preston
Not
Bush.
a lot of money, but relatively rich.
Well, he
right?
was pretty rich because the guy was a successful Wall Street finance man. And so he was, wealthy. But yet, that never went to his head. He lived with humility. He shared more of his greatest wealth was friends. He has friends and friends and friends, and he treated people right.
If I may recall, I came here when Donald Trump, when Ronald Reagan was the president.
Yes.
So I went through Ronald Reagan
Yeah.
and George H.W. Bush
Right.
and Bill
Clinton,
Clinton and
George W.
George W. and
Obama.
Barack Obama
Yeah.
and Donald Trump.
You've been
I
here a
have
while.
endured 6 presidencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Among the 6, my judgment, or I'm not saying, okay, excuse me, let me rephrase it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm under the impression that he was the most humble president.
Well,
He seldom makes a long, lengthy speech like 40, 50 minutes.
yeah, right.
No, always a few words.
Actually, at the first, like a G20 or whatever meeting that he went to, there's because Mulroney, who was the leader of Canada, they were very, very good friends. Okay, and when he met George Bush the first time, some guy, going around the table gave a little speech from a country. Somebody else gave a little speech. Then the guy from Finland got up and talked like forever. And George Bush said that afterwards to the Canadian that I've learned that the smaller the country you come from, the longer you talk. and he said he learned from that. But see, he wouldn't brag about himself. He didn't do that. But they also said he was very competitive in the 2 elections that he was candidates in. Win one, lose one. They were nasty, just like our Trump.
He's got his own sense of humor.
Oh, he's got a great sense
He's
of
got
humor.
own sense of humor.
Great sense of humor.
Yes, exactly.
Loves jokes. Loves smiling.
Man of lots of reading.
Yeah.
He likes to read. He reads lots of books, right?
Yeah.
And being humble and being short on speeches, making only points. And remember the 100 days of the Desert Storm?
Yes, he
Right?
was the president.
Yeah, when he was a president,
Right.
right? Okay, now, prior to the war, when he declared the war,
Yes.
he named it the 100-day war.
Okay.
Later was referred to as the Desert Storm.
Okay.
When he started, his first statement was made 100-day attack.
Okay.
And yet, it ended on the 100th day on the time mark.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure, but it ended fast.
Yeah, I read a
ended-
book about it.
Okay, it ended
And
fast.
I experienced this. I was there. I was here in those days.
America, yeah.
And I read exactly every day to day in and out of those wars.
Yeah.
Right. And then I read a book about the 100th war.
Well, see, because he had such friendships and knowledge of the world leaders, he got a coalition of somewhere between 39 and 43 countries together, which we've never had that great of a coalition.
Exactly.
Except maybe
exactly.
World War II.
And also, And also within the 100-day war, there's a 100 hours airstrike. Do you recall that?
Not exactly.
Oh, not exactly, right? Oh, man. Okay, I did. I read it
Yeah.
from the book.
Yeah.
Right. So there was when they started the air raid, though.
Yeah.
Right. And on the time mark to the time mark,
Yeah.
there's exactly 100
100
hours.
Yeah. Before we sent the troops in.
Yeah.
Right. And we blew up everything that could be blown up.
In a blink of eyes.
Right, right.
The air raid was done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the precision
Yeah.
is also his character, I would say.
Yeah, actually, precision is a really big word when you talk about military. For example, his funeral and the activities these last few days, they're run by the military, and they, I mean, every little step, I watch everybody see how they're marching, how perfect they are. Every little maneuver, they shoot for perfection, and that's not shooting in the war. That's they try for perfection, and that was a very well planned recovery of Kuwait. And we had General Schwarzkopf, who was very instrumental, very good leader. We had great military coordination and great coalition. It was good. We still had some people die. Which is sad.
However, there's a little criticism about him about the Desert Storm, right?
I know where you're going.
And about Iraq,
Right.
First Iraq War.
Right.
Or First Iraq War.
Yeah.
Says that he would have finished Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, why not go
rather
after
than having left over 12 years later.
Yeah, I know.
Right. So for his sons to do it.
There were reasons at the time that I have to support.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
And I would give this to you as a warm up.
Yes, sir.
Let's take a short moment out. We come back. We'll we analyze from that point.
Absolutely.
All right.
Perfect.
My dear friends, today with me, my good brother, Ken Hemming, brother by the same mother, you can tell by the face. All right. And also by the smile. All right.
That's true. We have the same.
We're eulogizing our passing away former President George H.W. Bush. When I say passing away, I'm saying the impact of George H.W. Bush to the United Nations, to the great country of the United States, is forever there, right? It's forever there. And he is one of the best presidents of mine that I can say that. So let's take a short moment out. We come back to continue from the point we just left about the questions of the first Iraq War. How about that?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
We'll be right back. Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to the show, Jack Chow on the East West Show with the GNE TV and with the ICT TV. ICT TV is our new name right after the affiliation with the CBS. It's a good move.
Very beautiful.
Big move. I love it.
I love the red.
I love it.
I love the red.
I love the fact that my friends, my audiences, and you, my guests, though, can be viewed within the CBS system.
It's a big system.
Yeah,
it's a big network.
All right, good, very good. We are talking about the ceremony of great life for former President 41, George H.W. Bush. George H.W. Bush is the president that impacted the United States so much. And I believe his legacy was left and be going on even till today, right? Lots of people still like to compare presidency after presidency with the George H.W. Bush.
Right.
Right. Okay, now, with that said, there was a little, or there still is a little comment, or not exactly criticism, but a way of talking or perspective, talking about the first Iraq War, right? When he, quote unquote, could have finished, but yet not. Yeah. What's your take about it?
Well, he did complete their mission. Their mission was to free up Kuwait back to its citizens, get rid of the Iraqis out of there. That did unbelievable evil damage to historical monuments and that, and stole all the artwork and just did horrible things. So that was the mission, and the coalition, their job was to free Kuwait back up. And they accomplished that. And it wasn't the intended mission to go and finish it over with Saddam. Now, people wanted him to do that. He couldn't do it alone. Maybe he could try to do it alone. But they did the mission. He stuck to the mission. And I don't know, I don't even have an opinion whether that was right or wrong, because it's just reality, okay? So I don't know. And I don't know what would have happened if we'd have kept going right then. I mean, in my dreams, we would have kept going then and gotten rid of Saddam at that point in time, because he was certainly known to be pretty evil. But they accomplished the mission. It was a defined mission, and he stayed within the authorized purpose of their activity. So I think he did what he had to do.
All right, okay. Back then, I recall it was 1994, right? Saddam Hussein already started his persecution to his own people.
Oh yeah, no, he gassed his own people. He killed a lot of people.
And only the world, the rest of the world, did not know as much as we know now.
Correct.
About what
looking back, right?
Yeah, about what Saddam Hussein has been doing.
Yeah.
Right. And question is that I would say at that very point, when he was already in the Kuwait War.
Yes, sir.
Right. With Saddam Hussein, that was known to be persecuting his own people.
Yes, sir.
Compare that situation with the situation 12 years later, right? 11 years later or 12 years later, when the second Iraq War, created by his son George W. Bush, with an excuse saying that the massive destruction weapon.
Right.
So you compare those two situations.
Yeah.
Who had a better way to go ahead, or which had a better way to go ahead to get rid of Saddam Hussein?
Well, in that 12-year period, Iraq really did participate and support a lot more terrorist activities than before.
Militarily, financially.
Yeah, both.
Yes.
Right, exactly both. And I still believe, what is a weapon of mass destruction, okay? Colin Powell at the United Nations made this.
Oh, by the way, Colin Powell is invited.
Oh, he was at. I saw him the last 3 days on TV.
Yeah, he's invited there.
He looks pretty good. Still
good shape, right?
He was a general, 4-star general, so he was a great military guy. So, even gas. Now, you gas people, that's a weapon that kills masses. That's a weapon of mass destruction. And I do believe they probably had other weapons of mass destruction, and we gave them too much time to hide them or move them to another country, which we'll never know the truth, okay? But I believe it was a good decision to do that. People died. Our people died. It took longer.
Was it a good decision to do that during 43 or 41?
Well, if it had been the mission for 41, I think we would have accomplished it probably a little easier, because we had momentum. We had accumulated forces of 400,000 people or something. We had a big military action there.
Little easier and also little justice.
And a little justice.
Little justice.
A lot of justice, yeah.
And not a lot of justice.
Yeah.
Comparatively less justice. Am I right?
Well,
for him to,
it would have avoided things that happened afterwards.
Yeah, for him to move forward,
Yeah.
to totally get rid of him.
And I don't even know what history thinks about that decision. I really don't. I mean, you can read both sides of the story, and everybody believes what they believe. But George W. Bush, that for this other war, and he didn't really start the war. Saddam Hussein and his activities created the need for him to be eliminated. And so we responded.
Well, the world is changing. Time is changing, right?
It is.
And
Not for the best.
at a certain time, you're talking about a certain environment, right?
Yes.
And people's relationship, and relationship between countries, relationship between powers.
Yep.
Back then, in 1994, I believe Bin Laden was still friend to the Bush family.
Well, I don't think he was over for barbecues at all, Jack. I mean, I don't think they were friends. They probably did some business together because Bin Laden was very rich in the oil business. If the Bush family was in the oil business, they probably did some transactions, but I don't think they were hugging buddies at all.
No. Okay.
So
all
they
right.
weren't friends,
All
but
right.
they were probably associates and acquaintances in business.
That's another criticism I hear about. And anyway, we're going to share
Well,
with my audiences.
Well,
right?
but look at who else has done these things with whatever, okay? With Iran, okay? Look at the Iran deal we did. That was outrageous.
All right, okay. Another big thing during George H.W. Bush presidency was the corruption or the collapse of Russia.
Oh yeah, the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Former Soviet Union.
Right. And here's what President Bush did that I think I clap for. You know, rather than like when we took the wall down and when Russia just sort of evaporated, okay, the Soviet Union evaporated, Russia's still there, George Bush did not get up there, pump his chest and say, wow, we beat them, they're no good, we won, because that would have only made it more difficult on the Russian leadership to deal with their own people in explaining why they kind of evolved that way and the Soviet Union collapsed. And so he he did really, really smart. That was really smart. Rather than screaming, we did good, we're the best and everything. And then he also, Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, was at the funeral today, and she stated that Germany would have never been reunified between East and West unless President Bush's activities in that. So I mean, so in a short period, 4 years, and we should also emphasize that he should have won a re-election, but Ross Perot, a third-party candidate, took 15% of the votes that mostly would have gone to George Bush.
And the last minute he back up. He backs off.
Well, he got 15% of the votes.
We all recall that. He got the word they use, they say stolen.
Yeah,
he stole
votes.
And some 50% of the vote that could have gone to George H.W. Bush, and then the last minute, he backs up.
Yeah. Now, and the other thing is, President Bush at the time, one of his famous statements was, no more taxes, read my lips, no more taxes. But then when the Republicans and the Democrats got together for bipartisan a bill that really accomplished some really good things, but it required revenue. And George Bush said, this is not going to be good for me, but it was good for the country. And so he put his own commitment to no more taxes aside because there was a great bipartisan agreement that handled several issues that were important for America. And so he always put the country first. He wasn't sitting there, me, I. Sometimes I'm home and I go, me. That's not the good thing to do.
Right. And there's another big thing, that he has done during his presidency that is worth mentioning about, is that there are lots of people remember him by the fact that he signed the executive order to give the asylum to lots of people at that time. I know that more than 80,000 needed.
Are you talking about immigration?
Immigration-wise.
Okay, I don't actually remember that clearly.
Yeah,
so, okay.
He did. There was...
Reagan did. Reagan's the one that did the big amnesty.
Bush did. Reagan did one.
Reagan did the big one.
Did one. And... and he did one.
Okay.
And lots of my folks, here, Chinese Americans, remember him by that big incident that he did. Yeah.
But see, the Chinese people, not many of them are coming here illegally. So
not many.
Right.
Not
So I'm
many.
not sure exactly, but I mean, the ones that I'm opposed to are those that
But
come here illegally
not many, but those really needed.
for something.
Yeah, for something.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, my dear friend, my lovely audience, today, in the eulogy of our president who just passed away, former president who just passed away, George H.W. Bush, we want to make a point that this man is remembered forever.
Yes.
Right? And his legacy
He will be
is
remembered.
kept on, will be kept on forever. We miss him. We always keep that in mind. A good man is never forgotten. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, dear folks, my lovely audience. Welcome back to the East West Show. Jack Chow on the East West Show with ICT TV. With Mr. Ken Hemming, we're sharing you with the bad news, good news, and also we celebrate a great life of a man, a wonderful man, former President George H.W. Bush.
Yes,
so
sir.
back to the point.
Yeah, well, I'd like to make one really nice observation. When President Bush was laying in state in the Capitol, one of he's from the greatest generation, the people that fought in World War II. Okay, and they're almost all gone. I mean, there's not many left. Okay, and then one of the other senators that ran for president against him. What's his name again? But he came there in the wheelchair, and they actually lifted him up on his feet, and he has one arm that was damaged and couldn't use it from World War II, and he saluted with his left hand. Okay, and it was poignant. It was beautiful.
What a symbolic.
See, these guys there's not many left.
What a symbolic sin.
Oh, it was tremendous because we're losing. See, that generation that came out like Bush, 18 years old, on his birthday, signs up, puts himself in harm's way. I don't know if we have as many people that will do that today or not. But we do have an all-volunteer army, and we have committed soldiers, and I love that.
Sure. Keep that in mind.
It's Senator Bob Dole.
Oh, Bob Dole, Bob Dole.
It slipped my crazy brain.
Dole, yeah.
I apologize.
Bob Dole, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's the this way.
That's embarrassing.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the current president. How about that?
I love it.
Yeah, all right. Current President Donald Trump has just finished meeting with President of China, Mr. Xi Jinping.
Yes, sir.
Right, and they have something on agreement, right? And things are moving on, and the war seems to be seizing fire, I guess.
You're talking about the trade war.
Yeah, the trade war, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a 90-day truce. The stock market, the day after they kind of announced that President Xi really did a lot of good promises, okay, that would happen in the next 90 days. The stock market went up, 400 points or something.
All of a sudden.
And then all of a sudden, will the Chinese come through and will they follow through on what they promised? Then it went down 700 points because a lot of things too, in the way trading happens, they're just in their computerized. If this goes this way, they sell. If this way, you buy. It's not really individuals making these great decisions anymore. But so it's real fickle right now. The market's closed today for the funeral of President Bush, so that gives it a day to breathe. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But our people, like the Americans, and particularly our media, are so cynical about, they don't really want success for us, frankly, because they're so opposed to Trump. But they were opposed to President Bush. It was nasty back in those days, too. But maybe not quite. And the reason it's more nasty now is because of texting and tweeting and social media that wasn't as prevalent back then.
Exactly the point. Okay, I believe you understand me a lot. I'm a man who goes against war, all kinds of.
Yes, sir.
By all means.
Yes, sir.
All kinds of war, military war, treaty war, cultural war, whatsoever war you may call it. A war is a war. all right? A war means to fight.
Right.
However, when you come to a point where you have to do a trade war, just to keep it in the trade area,
Right.
to keep it exactly within the parameter of trade, right?
Yes, sir.
I buy you 3, you buy me 3,
Right.
4.
You're looking
Yes,
for free trade.
Yeah,
right
you're
now.
you're talking about those numbers. You're talking about trade.
Yes, sir.
Never stretch it to other areas.
Correct.
Yeah, politics, no way.
Yeah.
Right? The military, even more no way, right? So this is my whole take, is that when you guys really want to do a trade war, just to keep within the parameter of trade.
Right.
Yeah, your comment?
Well, I mean, right now, China is growing militarily. Their economy is okay. It's not moving as fast as it used to. Okay, and President Trump's kind of the first president for a long time, decades, that's really stood up to the Chinese way of doing business, which is very different from ours. Okay, in terms of intellectual properties and in having to give up your technology to have a business in China, and President Trump is changing that, and I'm willing to pay a price. And like the tariff things in the trade in that, yes, maybe it costs a little bit more than for us to buy something, because to get it in here, the price goes up with the tariffs we charge them, but it's still a very small part of our economy. It's a very small part of our economy.
I call it, it's in a period of exchanging ideas.
It's a negotiation right
It's
now.
a negotiation.
It's not a
right
war.
now.
I don't like that
no,
word.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Of course not a war.
But people want to say that.
It's a negotiation.
Yeah.
It is a bargaining.
Yeah.
Right? And you're asking price, I give you a bid back.
Right.
Right?
Exactly
and
right.
you rebid me, and
Yeah.
I rebid you. Something like
talking
that.
till you shake hands.
Going back and forth. And quote from Donald Trump that he and I were good friends. We're good friends.
I think they do get along. See, because I guarantee President Xi respects Trump because he's a strong leader, not a weak leader. And Xi is a strong
and vice versa.
leader. Right.
And vice versa,
Right.
Now, the good thing is that China is now buying soybeans,
Some agricultural products.
some agricultural
which we
products,
really need to
and
happen.
also lots of porks.
Right.
And China is buying.
Yeah. It's
I don't know how. I don't know the number. I don't have the number now, but I know there's huge amount of dollars of pork and beef.
Yeah, and then what happened is the media is going, well, nothing's happened. Well, when they had their dinner, the Chinese went to Panama to do some more deals. So those deal makers they just got back to China like yesterday. So you can't, these people say they want something to happen in an instant. Nothing happens in an instant. We've got to pass it through these 90 days, see that there's indications, just like we're hoping for with North Korea, that these things will progress in a positive way. Nothing just happens, okay? And so, and then we have our main negotiator named Lighthouser, supposedly, is brilliant and very strong and very much for America, etc. I believe we're going to have happy endings on this. I believe
And in
it.
the whole
Either way, it
process-
will be happy.
In the whole process, I believe understanding worked.
Right.
Right? And in the long-term future or even mid-term future, I'm talking about the mutual understanding is still the key of further negotiation.
In patience.
And
In
patience. And a little patience.
Right.
A little patience.
Right.
All right. I'm not speaking for China. I want to speak for truth. The truth is that
Yes, sir.
if you look for 100 years into history,
Right.
you see what kind of country United States was.
Yes, sir.
Right? And you look back into history for 100 years to China, you see what kind of system that was.
Right.
Right? So that was a moment when the emperor says,
Yeah.
head off,
Right. Right.
head off.
Yeah.
Poof,
Yeah.
the head goes off.
That's
Nobody even asked.
right.
Right?
Nobody asked.
Because that's a federalism.
Right. Right. Exactly. Perfect
Right? Okay.
statement.
Now, and back then, same period of time, United States, we had laws already.
Yes, right.
We had at least we have the vigilante laws.
Well, right.
Right?
You can't do
All
some
right.
of those naughty
You can't-
things.
You can do naughty things like that.
Right,
Right.
right.
And
You
back
can't take
in,
the law into your
back
own
then
hands.
in China, say 1900,
Yeah,
well, that was a time that I can say, head off, head off.
yeah, just
And it goes easy,
yep.
easy.
Had the power.
Yeah, power, right?
Yeah.
Now, given the 100 years,
Because there's no dissent.
yeah,
You're not allowed to dissent.
yeah, of course not.
Right, otherwise your head's gone
Given
too.
the 100 years,
Yeah,
United States has never endured invaders.
God
I
bless
mean,
us for that. Because
foreign invasions.
Yeah, because we have water on two sides
Yeah,
in Canada
yeah,
and Mexico.
yeah, yeah.
We're very, if we were in the middle of Europe, it'd be a different
At
world.
least we had a little war, but that's before that Civil War.
That was a
right?
big one.
And then from 1912,
Right,
which is Spanish War,
Right.
to the current day,
yes, sir.
the United States had no war.
On our
No,
soil,
no,
correct.
no.
Right,
I mean, on our soil,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So nobody had ever set a foot on our soil
Yeah.
as an invader.
yeah,
In China,
yeah,
you see lots of things.
right. Yeah.
You see the Japanese invaders, right?
That was
for 14
very
years.
bad.
For 14 years, they took almost the whole China,
Wow,
right? And thanks to the help
My heart
of
bleeds.
everybody,
yeah,
thanks to the help even to the United States
Absolutely.
involved, who sent the troops, even their flying tigers,
Yes, sir.
to help China
right,
to try to win the war,
right.
right?
Yep, the Flying Tigers were heroes.
Yeah, of course,
Big
right?
time.
Okay, now, thank God finally China won the war because the World War ended 1945.
It's sovereignty back.
right?
Yes,
And 1949, China established its own government.
right.
Only 1 year after, they were involved in the Korean War,
Yes,
in North Korean War.
yes,
Good or bad,
Yeah.
right or wrong, war is a war. War costs money, right?
that was a tough one to fight.
And that war ended 53.
Well, they stopped shooting in '53.
Yeah.
They were still technically at war right now. They haven't had a
Oh,
truce.
yeah, just a ceasefire.
Which is weird,
Just
yeah.
a ceasefire.
It's
just
a ceasefire, right.
When the line's still there.
Yeah,
The
38th
line's still
parallel.
there, right? Just ceasefire, right? Okay, now.
Oh yeah. Ooh,
Okay.
scary.
Shortly after, once again, good or bad, right or wrong,
Yes.
that's another category of discussion.
Yeah.
We're talking about what China had endured, the revolution, created by its own leader, Mao,
Yes.
right? So with the revolution, everything was turned upside down. No production, no nothing,
Yeah.
no private ownership at all. Everything private was killed from
Right.
head to toe,
That Cultural Revolution was
which did not
Pretty tough.
which did not end even till early 80s.
okay.
All right. From early 80s, you're talking about a country something 40 years
Yes, sir.
in history of development.
Yes.
It has monetary problems.
Yes.
It has technical problems. It has everything.
Feeding people problems.
Feeding people. Yeah,
Yeah,
feeding
that's
people.
a big one.
Back then,
problems.
Back then, in the 60s,
Yes, sir.
last century 60s, you're talking about 800 million people
Okay.
in China.
Yeah.
Right. Now you're talking 1.4 billion. Right.
It's a lot
To feed those, everything,
Yeah,
right?
no, it's a lot
So,
of people.
You really want to give China some time, number one, at least to wake up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Number two, to think our way.
Well, a little bit more individual freedom. We
Yeah,
hope
sure,
in,
all right.
In business opportunities.
Let's take a short moment now. When we come back, we'll continue, because we want to make a point, all right? So we want to speak for no country. We just want to make it fair to speak for the truth.
For the facts.
All right, good. Be right back. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show, Jack Chow on the East West Show with ICT TV, with my friend Ken Hemming a political commentator, we are going into big stories of the week. This is a weekly update. So for this weekly update, first 2 halves of time, we talking about our former president, George H.W. Bush, passed away, and in commemoration of great things he has done during his presidency. Even prior, before his presidency, as a soldier, well, as first ambassador of United States to China.
He was.
Right?
Now that's huge.
Yeah,
and that was right after we got into China.
Sure. There's a foundation.
Mao was there.
That's a foundation that, I believe that's a foundation that builds the relationship of the United States and China of now.
He was very familiar with China.
Yeah,
and one thing he learned in China, they talked about in the funeral today, is that there was a big fancy dinner of about 12 people at the White House, and then they brought in soup, and then he lifted up his soup bowl rather than thing and started drinking it like that, which is what he learned in China.
Yeah.
And then everybody else at the table started doing the same thing. Was that great?
All right, good. And in China,
that's cool.
And also in China, he learned to ride on a bicycle.
Oh, okay.
And in Beijing, he always ride his bicycle.
Oh, did he?
And he goes to Wangfujing.
Okay.
Goes to Qianqiao, those places where people recognize him. He started chatting with people.
Sure.
Very friendly.
He's a very friendly man. He's tremendously friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's a big impact.
And I had a picture of him on bicycles in Beijing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
yeah.
See, he was also very fit. He was a good runner. He was a very fit athlete.
Oh, 94
His whole life.
Is a long life.
Yeah, he was fit though. He took care of himself.
I mean, he's in good shape,
Yeah.
right? Anyway, talking about the big things of this week, and that includes the fact that our President Donald Trump meet with China President Xi Jinping. We're talking about the fact that if you follow the chronicle line, go backward into history though, you will find out totally different 2 countries, United States and China. They are not on the same level, and give it 100 years,
Yep.
and it goes all the way to it is now. This 100 years, the first 70 years doesn't do nothing.
Right. It just
Doesn't do nothing at all.
progressed.
Right, only progress, and only talking like on the same platform, international platform, not until the late 80s,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So that even shortens the period of time that allows China to develop in the way that the rest of the world does business.
Correct.
For 30 years.
Right. Well, see, and China is still called, which is totally wrong, an undeveloped country. They haven't been declared to be a developed country. They are certainly a developed country, and that's some of the problems with the World Trade Organization and some of the benefits China has for being viewed as developing. It's developed plenty. And
Yeah, exactly.
They should not have any more benefits.
That's a very good point. And by philosophy, you can always go ahead to call every country a developing country because every country is developing.
Right.
Am I right? Nobody say, hey, I don't need to move forward anymore.
Yeah.
I'm developed.
Yeah. Right. Nobody's developed.
Nobody is developed, right?
Well, like you say, you can never be too thin or too rich, okay?
Yeah,
You've got to continue to
I'm
improve.
still developing myself.
Me too.
I'm 235 now.
Yeah. I'm down 18 pounds.
You're going down, going up.
Yeah.
Right. I'm selling my pounds.
We'll meet in the middle sometime.
I'm beating my pounds.
Yeah.
Right. I'll pay if anybody can buy my pounds off me.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
yeah, they can. Life will suction.
How about and I'll do like $100 a pound.
Yeah.
Right. Most expensive meat.
Yeah. Most expensive meat. That's true.
Very good. All right. So then we come to a conclusion that China still needs some time.
Yeah, it's a real big difference when there's a one-party system or a multiple-party system.
Oh, exactly.
So the philosophy doesn't really change over, the philosophy of government doesn't change. It may change sometime. The people have tried to change it sometimes.
you're right.
but haven't had the power to do that yet.
And once again, I follow the rule.
Yes, sir.
Right or wrong, good or bad.
Yep.
Right? The fact, we're talking about the fact versus the fact.
Absolutely.
Right? You have one fact that has one party. You have the other fact that has two parties, at least.
Yeah.
Right? So again, good or bad, right or wrong, those are, well, the fact.
And the tragedy right now is that our country has such divisiveness between the far left, and basic Americans. And so it's much tougher to run our country right now because there's always at least 50% of the people that don't like you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very sad.
That's why they
very
can do.
sad.
That's why they in China can do the
They can stay focused with patience.
The bullet train.
Right.
They call them bullet train.
Right. Right.
Bullet train
To Tibet,
goes
they've got one.
faster than regular train, traditional train.
Yes, sir.
Is because it doesn't go any curve.
Yeah, right.
It
can get a straight line.
It shoots like a bullet
Yeah.
from A to B.
Yes.
You can get a straight line. You can get exactly a straight line you draw on map
Yeah.
as in reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here, the land belongs to you and me.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Right? Once again,
Very good point.
Once again, good or right.
Yeah.
Good or bad,
it's-
right or wrong.
it's the truth.
That's a truth. That's a fact.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have the zigzag.
Right.
When you
And that's
zigzag,
inefficient.
when you zigzag, can you still call a bullet train? It's not a bullet train.
No, it's a ballet train.
It's a meander. It's a
Yeah.
meander train.
A
How
meander.
about that?
That's
Meander
right.
train.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly the word. The meander train. All right.
Because I do remember I have gone on the very fast train from London to Paris, and I'm telling you, it goes straight.
Yeah.
It goes straight.
Yeah,
There's no crew.
It has to go that way. It has to
And
go
it's
that way.
humming, 160, 170 miles an hour.
I rode one from Dalian to Shenyang.
Oh, did you?
About an hour or something.
I'd love to.
I don't forget the exact time though. It goes the moment you're on.
Adios, you're gone. Yeah.
Well, you're there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're there, right?
Right there. Right there. Right. Something like that.
That's exciting.
Okay, now, when you talk about that, you have to realize the fact.
Yeah.
Why can't you go straight?
Right.
Right? Why can't
point.
you go why do you have to do the zigzag way?
Right.
The meandering way.
Yeah.
So those are realities.
Because of individual liberties that we
Now,
have.
without understanding of that the condition, you would say, hey, United States is never going to catch up because you never had a bullet train.
Yeah.
We don't need a bullet train.
We don't need it, no.
We don't need a bullet. Why do we need a bullet train? All right? Something
Well,
like that.
California is wasting billions and billions and billions of dollars trying to do a bullet train. It's
My understanding,
very
yes,
sad.
that's a loss.
Tragic.
That's a squander of money. All right.
And
That's a
our
squander of
poverty
money.
is growing in California, too.
That's a squander of money. Only a squander of money.
It's pure just for ego of politicians.
So
nothing but ego.
Nobody would even need a bullet train.
Right.
Right. From here to Victorville, that's
Yeah.
one stop.
Yeah.
Right. From here to Victorville.
Yeah.
How big is the population of Victorville?
Oh, it's a small city.
Yeah,
Nice
small city,
people,
right?
small city.
All right. So
100,000, maybe less.
100,000,
Yeah.
maybe less, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody
So
wants to go to Victorville.
Out of that population,
Yeah.
how many want to go to Los Angeles straight one shot?
Not many.
And how many of them want to go to Las Vegas,
Las
straight
Vegas,
one
right.
shot?
Yeah. It just doesn't economically work.
No.
It just
No,
doesn't
either way.
work.
So you have to understand the reality, right? Now, without understanding the reality, either China or United States, they are just wasting their time, right?
Well, yes, I think
You look,
that's right.
I'll give you another example.
think
You
that's
look
right.
good in your jacket, right? I look good
Right.
in my jacket.
Yeah.
Can we trade?
Well, we would look different.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
This is you, this
Mine
is me.
fits me.
Right.
Yours fits you.
Right.
Because the tailor tailored my jacket.
Right.
And your tailor does the same thing, vice versa.
Certainly did.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if you say why China is wearing American jacket, and the United States asking China, China asking United States why United States is not wearing the China jacket.
Good point. Yeah.
Obviously, they are asking the wrong question.
Yeah, so then we need joint ventures where we can coordinate ourselves.
However, there's education to be taught, right? So when it comes to international, though, okay, here's the game. Okay, those are the rules. All right.
Yes, sir.
Look at it, read. Can you do it? Yes, we can.
Right.
Right. And promise, swear in.
You know, there's no limits to the possible. I believe that. There's no limits to the possible.
Okay. To give
That's a
someone
big deal.
To go. So it is the efforts we're talking about. Efforts
Yeah.
from China, efforts from United States. Two efforts combined that can make things better.
Well, and you know, look, the next 90 days, we're going to have a lot to talk about, Jack, with
yes,
the evolution of this agreement.
I am pretty sure that by the mark of 90 days,
Yes.
something better will pop out.
I believe so. And before that, yes.
Because these two countries, as a matter of fact, once again, we're talking about reality, right?
Yeah.
Reality is that we are together. We have been together already.
See, and what's happening now, I think you'll agree with me, it's like right now, President says, I believe in tariffs, I believe they'll work, and I believe in that. And then the media that doesn't like them, they
And
say
Xi
tariffs are
Jinping
horrible. No,
and-
if he said, I don't like tariffs at all, then the media
Yeah.
would say, oh, tariffs would be good to do. So you can't do anything and get
Yeah,
praise.
you're right.
Yeah.
And in Chinese, we say the five fingers never by the same length,
Good point. I like
right?
it. I like
they
it.
each have their own way, right?
Yep.
So if you have the same length, you're not talking about your hand.
Right.
You're talking about shovel.
No, see, that's very beautiful. That's very, very, very beautiful.
Right, sure. Okay, now,
Great
let the
philosophy.
fingers be the fingers,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
now, we are talking about put the fingers together to do something.
Yeah.
By philosophy, everybody of them, those little guys, do their own job,
The little guys, yeah.
right? Those little guys do their own job.
need 'em all.
And then you get the job done, right? Internationally, work out the rule. If a rule needs to be reworked out, then let's rework on it, do some rework on it. And once the rule, people need to learn about obeying the rules,
That's true.
all right?
That's
So
right.
I'm pretty sure that China have learned enough, and the United States have learned enough, and by the mark of 90 days, something good will happen. How about
Well, you know, China needs us too. Okay, we need them. We need each other.
that? Okay.
Why
Say
not
the
succeed
U.S.
together?
U.S. farmers.
Yes, sir.
They've been crying.
Right. They've
They've been crying, right?
Right.
Even though with the supplement of the government, though,
Right.
and they would rather say we would want the beans.
Well, and
to be
also the
sold.
beans feed people. So you know you want to get it to consumers.
China is crying too.
I know.
Those the cows, whatever.
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
whole industry,
Right.
right? Needs the beans.
Yeah. So anytime there's not commerce moving products.
Why these two hurting each other by hurting themselves doesn't make a point.
Well, President Trump is trying to catch up and eliminate the pathetic
Yes.
trade strength we've had in the
Points
past.
made, issues understood,
Yeah.
mistakes are being corrected. So
Right. So,
So?
we're not sissies
So?
anymore.
So?
We're taking our position.
Yeah.
I'm America first. The Chinese should be, and Trump says this, Chinese should be what they're China first.
I would say everybody first.
Absolutely.
How about that, right?
Any country.
And
You gotta love your country.
And then happily married ever after.
Exactly.
How about that?
Right. Cooperating.
Cooperating, right?
That's all it
My dear
takes.
friends, we're way over time, but it's worth the talking, all right? Thank you for watching, and I appreciate my friend Ken Hemming very much for joining me in making the point.
And Merry Christmas to everybody.
Oh,
We're in
yeah,
December.
sure. Oh,
Hallelujah.
We will put together a show for our
Great.
Christmas celebration.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, good.
Appreciate it.